and lots of noise. Boogity, 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 boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Time to talk some NASCAR here on Sports Talk with Jeff Owens in the fast lane as we go to the Worldwide Technology Raceway out there in Madison, Illinois. I guess that's sort of like out there near St. Louis. Before we talk about all that, we welcome Jeff in. And disappointing way that the race in Charlotte ended because of the weather. You really hate that. Could have been a dynamic finish like they had in Indy. But what'd you think of the racing while it was ongoing in Charlotte?
Yeah, just a disappointing day all around, Phil, with everything. The 4-hour rain delay at Indy that really, prevented Kyle Larson from doing the double. And, then we go to Charlotte, and, the race shortened by rain again. And just disappointing. I mean, everybody wanted to see Larson get in the car. He really did a great job at Indy, I thought. He was running sixth, and then he had that problem on pit road, and that sort of ruined his day. And then it's already ruined by the rain, but he was going to get in the car and finish the race. And, man, as soon as the helicopter landed, it started pouring rain. So just a disappointing day. You hate to see that. That's really the greatest day of the year in racing. And, luckily we got a great finish to the Indy 500. I thought that was fantastic. Great finish, great post-race celebration, and I wish we would have gotten to see the same sort of thing in Charlotte. But like they say, you can't beat Mother Nature sometimes.
I think she's undefeated in every sporting event she's ever played in. She can stop baseball, she can stop races, and she can stop golf tournaments and all of that. I'll say this about Indy. It was a great finish. And, I know they traditionally start that race at noon there in Indiana, but they always run into storms. I wouldn't be surprised if the management there looked at that and also looked at the numbers and thought, you know what? Start this thing later in the day, cooler, storms pass, and we get into prime time with this thing. We might really blow it up television-wise.
Well, that's a good thought, Phil, but if you do that, then you kind of mess up the NASCAR schedule and the TV schedule. And I think the networks kind of work together on that and sort of try to create this great day of racing. You got the F1 race, which I've never watched it in my life because it comes on like 6 in the morning. But you got that starts the day, and then you got the Indy 500, and then you got the Coke 600 that starts at 6 o'clock. And I think it's a great day. But yeah, they might have to consider something like that, But if it moves the Indy race back, that kind of delays. Then you got both races going on at the same time. It's complicated, but just really unfortunate what happened. And but Indy sort of saved the day a little bit because once they got going, I did think it was a fantastic race, and I really enjoyed watching that.
Very popular victory, a very popular runner-up at Indy. Now, very popular winner at Charlotte as well. I mean, look, I'm sure that the Christopher Bell team was praying for rain once they crossed the halfway point, and they're like, hey, look, we'll be happy to take a rain-shortened victory because, over time, the name's going to be in the record book, and it's not going to matter to them how they won it. So a terrific win for that team.
Yeah, it was, and they, they raced their way to the front. They were really good, and they ran up there and they challenged Byron and some other guys, and they took the lead, and they were holding the lead when the rain came. So you can't fault them for that and say that they lucked into it. Sometimes that happens when you have fuel mileage, weather, some weird strategy, and that kind of thing, and you have a guy sneak up there and steal the victory. That didn't happen this time. He had one of the fastest cars. He went out there and he took the lead, and it fell his way. So you can't you got to credit them, and another good victory for them. Joe Gibbs Racing keeps plugging right along. I think that's their 4th or 5th win of the year with Hamlin. I think Christopher Bell's got a couple. Truex is knocking on the door. So they're right there where they need to be to challenge Hendrick Motorsports.
Tell me about what is going on with Kyle Larson and the appeal, because he's already in the playoffs. What are they appealing to NASCAR? Because I guess because he didn't run in this race, what's that all about?
Yeah, well, the rule states, Phil, that you have to run all the races. You have to start all the races to be eligible for the playoffs and to be eligible for the championship. Now, they have a waiver, and you can apply for a waiver, and typically NASCAR has granted that waiver. They've done it in the case of injuries. We've seen it happen. When Kyle Busch won his last championship, he broke his leg in the Daytona 500 and missed, I think, 8 or 10 races. And he got a waiver. He comes back and he wins the championship. We've seen it happen to other drivers. Usually in the case of injury, a guy gets hurt, they'll grant him. He can miss some races, and they'll grant him a waiver. We saw a couple of years ago, Chase Elliott. He had missed some races by injury, but he also got suspended for a race. But he still got the waiver. So the debate is, a lot of people think that Kyle Larson should not get this waiver because he wasn't injured, he wasn't suspended. He chose to go run the Indy 500 and do the double. So there's a lot of debate about that going on. But in my mind, look, the guy, everybody was on board with this from the beginning. NASCAR, Hendrick Motorsports, IndyCar, everybody agreed to allow him to do this. They signed off on it, and they knew what the risks were. It was going to be a risk to get to Charlotte either way. Everything had to be perfect. That didn't happen. That's not Kyle Larson's fault. To me, it would be a shame for them not to grant him this waiver, particularly considering the fact that him running that double and running the Indy 500 and attempting to go to Charlotte, that brought tremendous exposure and publicity and marketing to the sport. So I don't see how they cannot grant this waiver, and I think they will. I think a lot of people might not like it, but I think it's the right thing to do, and I think they'll ultimately grant him that waiver.
All right, our final minute with you goes so fast because we're in the fast lane. It just goes so fast. Your thoughts on the end of Stewart-Haas Racing, the end of this season?
Yeah, wow. Huge news. Yeah, they decided to close the doors. A lot of factors involved. Several years ago, Gene Haas went out and started a F1 team, poured millions into that deal, and it hadn't really gone well. And when Harvick and Almirola retired last year, they lost some big sponsors, so that hurt them. They don't have a contract currently with Ford for next year. That was a big hurdle. So a lot of factors into this, and they had to close the team, and that's unfortunate. Team that won 69 races and 2 championships, and they're going to be gone after this year. So that's a shocker for sure.
That's terrible, terrible news. Hey, you have a great weekend. Super stuff from you as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Phil. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir. Jeff Owens in the fast lane here on Sports Talk. Back in a moment.